Hello, I'm Aubrey Bush with Easy School Marketing, and today we're talking about the Small School Leaders Conference, and in particular, Joe Monzo, because he's one of my favorite people. For those of you unfamiliar with Joe, he is a founder of Monzo Media Productions. This is Joe's second time speaking at the Small School Leaders Conference, and we're so excited to have him. Thank you, Joe, so much for joining me today and at the conference.
My pleasure. I'm excited for February.
It's going to be here before we know it. Now, I know our audience is they loved your session last year. I'm excited about your session this year. It's on Thursday, February 8th at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, and it's how to execute a results-driven video marketing strategy. Can you tell us a little bit more about your session?
Yeah, for sure. So last year, we talked a little bit more about executing kind of the production side, whether you're working with a vendor or whether you're doing that in-house. And this session is really going to hone in a little bit more, the more big picture aspect of things. How do we come up with the ideas of like a video marketing, content per se? How do we go about executing those? Then we're going to go into how are we actually going to film these in a strategic way? And then afterwards, we're going to really hone in on like, okay, how do we get these videos out there? And what are some of the best practices for distribution channels, the more organic side of things? And then how do we actually like see if they're working or not? How do we learn some of these analytics? How do we learn what those analytics mean, and just some general tools in terms of like, maybe you might want to try this tool as opposed to that tool. And then of course, I'll have a bunch of resources as well in terms of best practices and some other resources that you either have in-house or if it's just you who's filming and all that good stuff. And really just making sure that people have an actual plan. That way, when they're going into starting this process, because it can be daunting. Hopefully the goal is to make this feel less daunting.
That's amazing, Joe. I know that there are people who feel overwhelmed when they think about these things. So this is going to be a game changer for them, I'm sure. And I'm so excited, as always, to listen to your tips. I always walk away with like, that was amazing. So I cannot wait. Now, Joe, this is the second year you've been with the conference. Can you tell us what you're excited about this year for the conference?
Yeah, so I think this year, I believe there's a couple people speaking about AI technology, and I've been someone who like in general, I avoid like, okay, that's like a fad type deal, or, oh, that's just, that will be gone in like 2 months, but AI really has stuck around, and it's going to be interesting to see how we can leverage AI in, not only in our work life, but also potentially our everyday life. And I know for the schools, it's going to, once you leverage artificial intelligence, it's really going to help save some time and hopefully some money as well, because there's just so much stuff we got to do. And yeah, I'm really excited about those sessions.
Me too. I think especially for small schools with limited budgets, resources, and team members, that's huge. Like we use AI. I can't believe how much I use it now. And I agree with you. You don't want to jump on the trends, but this is not, I feel like this is not a trend. This is kind of here to stay.
Yes, it is totally here to stay.
Yeah. Now, Joe, I would love to hear from your perspective, like as you're out in the world doing your thing, are there any trends you're noticing like in your field and or with independent schools that you'd like to share?
I think it's really about how do we get efficient with the content that we're producing. So that is leveraging AI and technology, or whether that's just about like trying to map out like, okay, what's the content that we're creating for this batch? Or if it's something like, okay, what are we trying to really accomplish in a short time frame? And this is just something that I've seen in the last probably like 6 months or so. There's really been this focus of like just being efficient, which I love because time is the one resource we cannot get back. So to me, I'm trying to think, how do we become more efficient with our time, both utilizing technology and just by better practicing, just some general best practices on how to manage projects, but projects that are also going to give us the results that we want.
That is such a key challenge, I think, for schools. So this is a key, I think this is something they definitely need to be thinking about. And, we only have so many hours in the day and the week, and burnout is real. So trying to figure out like where to invest that time and energy and how to streamline and all those things you just mentioned is super important. Thanks, Joe, for sharing. Now, I know people are going to ask me, where can we learn more about Joe? Can you share where they can find you online?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. So, you can just find me, Joe Monzo, on LinkedIn. I've got the nice profile picture. And then our website, monzomediaproductions.com. Got a newsletter that we're really honing in on and just trying to provide as much value as we can. And those are probably like the two main channels to find me. And then, of course, I'm always easy to get a hold of, and I'm an open book. So if you wanted to shoot me an email beforehand, it's joe@monzomediapro.com. It's pretty straightforward. And, again, if there's any questions, I'm always happy to answer to the best of my ability.
You are, and I think you're one of the most generous people I know with sharing your expertise. And I always do ask you questions, so I appreciate the answers. And you definitely want to follow Joe on LinkedIn because he does share some great content there as well. So thank you, Joe, for being with us here today. And I can't wait for your conference session.
I'm excited as well. It's going to be great. I'm super excited.
Me too. And if you all haven't registered yet for the conference, be sure to do so soon. It's at easyschoolmarketing.com/conference. We look forward to seeing you in February.